So we got an interesting one here. Some people were recently looking at the recent Transformers Siege Hound toy that has been released. And this has happened in the past with Transformers where a product comes out, the first run of that mold of that product comes out, and then somewhere in the instructions or somewhere in the package art or something, it reveals the other head.
Oh,
And,
really?
and what I mean by the other head is sometimes a mold is intended to be another character later.
Mm.
And what ends up happening is they use the other head for the instructions. The best
Yeah.
example of that, specifically, like we had an example, like we had Geenrations Thunderwing, the deluxe toy, and when you looked at his instructions, it showed the head for Black Shadow. And that's one example. There's tons of examples of that where I know that like in Cybertron, there was examples like that. A lot of Classics toys had that too, where we kind of got a spoiler of what they intended to do. Now, usually this is something that's kind of a mistake from the factories. Sometimes it's a mistake, like art directors kind of like, tell them, oh, just do the art for this. So long story short, we're looking at this Hound box art, and the toy has one kind of head sculpt, and the box art has another kind of head sculpt. And when you look at the head sculpt and you look at the details of it, you start noticing something very similar if you were a fan of the Galaxy Force, also known as Cybertron Transformer series.
Right.
The head sculpt on it is 100% the head sculpt that was used for the old Cybertron Defense hotshot, also known as Exilion in Galaxy Force. His super mode, if you will. And this is kind of crazy because it kind of suggests that that's probably what the repaint and or retool is going to be. Now, knowing how Hasbro is now, where they do extensive retools now, not just throw a new head on stuff. I mean, we look at the Hound, and the Hound pretty much is a Hummer kind of looking Jeep this time around for the Siege line. I wouldn't be surprised if they retool it and they close up that, this is like an open concept Jeep and stuff where it has no hood and no roof. I wouldn't be surprised if they retool that whole cockpit area and make it more tankish like the original Exilions was, his super mode, and give him the weapons and everything. And especially Exilion's toy, specifically the Cybertron Defense one, which all the Cybertron Defense ones were always an emphasis on weapons and missile launchers and all kinds of stuff.
The good stuff.
And considering that part of the play pattern with Siege is all these like little battle masters and guys like Cog that come apart and become, armor and weapons for characters, I would not be surprised if this is right at home at where this character is going to be. Someone actually did a little Photoshop of pretty much how it would look if it was a straight up repaint. I'm going to post it here too. If I could find, I want to credit the individual, but I can't seem to find the original source of where it came from. If you were one of the original creators, please let me know. Put it in the description, put it in the comments, and I'll put you in the description so I could give you proper credit because I can't find it right now. But someone gave a nice little artistic representation of if it was a straight up repaint with the new head sculpt on it, how it would look. And it kind of works just like that. But knowing Hasbro, they're probably going to do extensive retooling and give us something really cool. So yet again, another Cybertron toy and character in the Siege line, now joining Optimus. So this is very interesting. I mean, I've always really liked Galaxy Force. Like, Galaxy Force has always been, like, in my top 5 of favorite Transformer series of all time. But it's always been really just a personal opinion. I'm actually quite surprised how much whoever it is internally in Hasbro that also really enjoys this line. I know, like, also the third-party guys, a lot of them like to do Cybertron and Galaxy Force designs for their stuff, like Meteor with the Starscream. But this is fascinating that yet another character, more specifically, one of the Hotshot. The only other explanation I could really come up with is because there hasn't been a Hotshot toy in a while. And maybe that trademark is coming up. That's another possibility. But aside from that, I mean, this is pretty cool otherwise. I mean, I dig it a lot. I don't know. Like this is unexpected to say the least because it isn't official news.
Right.
It's us just kind of looking at box art here and going like, wait a minute. But we've had this in the past where that alternate head sculpt was on instructions or on a box, and someone just didn't get the memo and they kind of just leaked the news early in a lot of ways. So, I mean, it would be cool if we get other characters too. And it's kind of funny that, they're going with the second body that Hotshot had in the Cybertron Galaxy Force line instead of the first one. The first one was very Hot Rod inspired, so I guess that's another reason why not to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, this is still pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I dig it a lot. And they went with the Hotshot that isn't all yellow also, because that's kind of Bumblebee's MO now. So they went with the color scheme that's more unique to this character instead of just being a yellow repaint or a Hot Rod homage like his first body was. So this is really cool. And I think it's going to fit in well, again, with all those Battle Masters and pieces and stuff. So, I mean, what do you think about this?
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's very funny that, like, that's how hard we were looking at all this stuff, forget about all the black light for this series. Like, all that awesome, like, hey, we're looking at our boxes underneath the black. Wait, why are you looking at boxes underneath black light? And we're just looking at this is just something more plain in sight. And we're like, wait a minute, enhance, and then figuring that out, I think that's really, really cool. So let's see if we're right. Let's see if we figured it out and see what happens with this.